Welcome to the Porter Capital Podcast, where we talk all things cash flow, client success, and the people who make it happen. Season 1 of our show is all about the people of Porter. And these episodes will highlight team members in the operations, sales, marketing, account executive, and C-suite team. Our goal is for you to meet the people you will work with on a deeper level and to showcase why what we do at Porter is special. All of our episodes are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So I invite you to follow us to stay up to date with 1 to 2 podcasts a month. Now, let's get into today's episode. John, thanks so much for being on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Ian. How about you?
Doing great. It's always a pleasure to get to chat with you this morning, especially on episode 2 of our podcast. How are you
Yeah,
feeling about that?
looking forward to it. My tank is a little empty this morning. My 4-year-old got in bed with me at about 4 a.m. So other than that, we're doing pretty good.
Well, I promise we'll keep this one nice, short, sweet, and to the point here. So, John, I'd love to just start diving in. You've been at Porter for well over 10 years here. And so I kind of want to just chat about your experience here, especially how it started. You were in credit, now you're leading national sales. What has drawn you into the industry and how has it changed over time?
I graduated Auburn back in 2010 and was graduating in a pretty tough time. We're coming out of the financial crisis, so I needed a job. And so I got introduced to Mark uh, right after college, about 3 months after I graduated. Porter just really took a chance on me, and they needed somebody to come in and be kind of like a catch-all. So think of like a intern after college, and that
Okay.
was kind of me. So whatever they needed to be done is what I did. And my official role when I first started at Porter was a junior account executive. And that was helping our AEs do, random tasks throughout the day, whether that be making collection calls or uh, verifying invoices, doing some data entry work. So that that was where we kind of first began. Then that transition into a more of a AE role after that. So, and then the AE role was where my foundation was really built, was understanding a business and having actual clients that I would manage on a day-to-day basis, and understanding what those guys go through on a daily basis would, you know, there's a lot of stress in running a business. So, you know,
hmm
it learned a lot.
I don't know, and maybe this is just me speaking from my experience, but I know a lot of like directors of sales or CROs or whatever, they don't necessarily have that experience working in doing the actual thing that you're also selling to the business. So
Right.
how does that like background affect how you do sales today and how you lead the team here at Porter?
Well, the background was invaluable because I'm under the impression you can't sell a product unless you know it very well. And having the background that I had growing up in this company, I can look at a financial statement, I can look at a receivable aging, a payables aging, and pretty quickly tell you if this is something that we can do. So that really helps myself in getting the deals approved in our credit committee, but it also saves our sales team a ton of time. Now, our sales team has been with the company for a long time, so they're pros at this, but we bounce ideas back and forth with each other and can really save each other a lot of time when we're going through these transactions. And having the background that I had growing up in it, I think that was that helps a lot.
Well, John, let's get into the next question here. Really curious, because you've been in the industry for well over 10 years, it's interesting to kind of hear how what your thoughts on how it's changed over the years, and how factoring and ABL space has kind of like adjusted over the years, especially with all the recent advancements in technology.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think our industry is evolving a lot. There's a lot of new lenders that are coming to town, and a lot of like the online fintech groups have entered our space. So it feels like Wall Street has entered our space more so than the guys that used to own factoring companies. Just like the single guys that bootstrapped it from the beginning. Now they're not offering the same product, but they're offering a product that competes well into our industry that kind of that takes some of the market share. So groups like us have to really adapt. And then you mentioned technology, and I think that's like a key focus for Porter is adapting to technology and embracing it and not looking at it as, intimidating, but just making sure that we're equipped to compete with the fintech firms and having just having that technology that really helps us.
I've been aware of the factoring space for years now, but I haven't been as embedded as you are, and so it's interesting for me to even see over the past 3 years a huge change for the industry, I'm sure.
Yeah, most definitely. We've got a couple of things. We're trying to digitize our proposal better, online application, making it easier for the borrower to do business with us. The fintech lenders are putting out tons of money very quickly, and if we don't, then we're going to lose the business. I mean, it's just really as simple as that. And so we have to adapt with it, and we've got the balance sheet to do it and the management team to embrace the technology. So I'm confident in our ability to, perform in the future. So yeah, it's really important. And I think and it's just the beginning too. Like you mentioned,
Yeah.
AI, I think we're just scratching the surface.
So with that being said, this is actually a good segue into the next question, John, which is, how does Porter Capital differentiate itself when competing for deals, especially with like those larger or maybe more complex clients that are probably getting proposals from a bunch of different factoring companies and potentially even the fintech, people we were just talking about. How do we usually differentiate ourselves for these deals?
Yeah, so I always look to Porter, and I get asked this question a lot, is how we differentiate ourselves from our competitors. And I think speed is one thing that's on Porter's side. So if we get a deal in, especially on the larger side, we have the luxury of not being owned by, a bunch of different folks, or we're not sponsor backed or bank owned. So we're privately owned, and our owner sits, a few halls down from me. So when a bigger transaction comes in the door from our sales team, or, however it comes to us, I'm able to walk down the hall, talk with Mark, and figure out if that's something that we want to do pretty quickly. And if there's some weird stuff about the transaction, I need to go ahead and talk to Kate about it. She sits right next to me. So we can analyze a transaction extremely quickly. And I think that helps. We don't have to, there's not a lot of layers of approval that we have to go through to get a transaction done. So I think speed is, a big one here.
Well, how does that work in other with other companies or other factoring companies?
Yeah, don't want to, speak too much for how other groups' approval systems work, but I imagine that they have probably a robust credit committee and different layers of approval for different size transactions that they have to go through. And ours is kind of for the most part, the one size fits all for us. So, we gather around the table after, we've done our due diligence, and we're able to analyze it and move it through the system pretty quickly. And I know some of our competitors, I'm sure have the same, uh, that they can do that as well. But I would think some of the bank-owned groups and some of the private equity owned, they may have to go to the banks or even the sponsors to get larger deals approved if they're outlaying a lot of cash. And for me, I go down the hall and talk to Mark about it.
Yeah,
So that's how we operate.
makes sense.
We try.
Well, we like to keep these podcasts a little bit lighthearted and also, yeah, like we care about talking about Porter Capital, but also kind of care about the whole season is about the people.
Yeah.
As the national sales manager, you have a lot of weight on your shoulders. And so it's interesting to kind of understand some of the things you do on like a daily basis to where like, let's just say like a habit or a routine that you would swear by that, keeps you grounded, keeps you level headed going into the office every day. So what would you say, what's one sales habit or routine you swear by?
Well, it's always following up with our referral sources and, making sure we're taking care of them because that's the lifeblood of our business. So when we get a referral in, our salespeople take the lead on it, or sometimes I'll work with the referral source as well. So we want to make sure that any referrals that have come in, that they're updated and they know where the lead stands. We're big at Porter about giving a quick yes or no, and so not to leave anybody hanging. So I think, understanding what the day looks like, what leads have come in, trying to get them moved from an open status to converted. That's I think that would be it.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. Got to follow up with the leads. If you don't, they're not going to do much. So
Somebody else will.
that's right. What about like underrated skills in sales today? What do you think about that? Especially in a world where a lot of people are automating things and there's
Yeah,
AI out there. I mean, what do you really think is underrated today in the sales world?
man, it's picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Picking up the phone and calling. Call as many people as you can, but also use your time wisely, and make sure you've identified a group of people that you can be beneficial to and they can be beneficial to you. And so having those conversations with those folks and making, as many calls throughout the day, or meeting as many people as you can throughout the day, I think is maybe underrated. I think that could be underrated.
I think that personal connection is really important. That's something that Leslie even mentioned on the last episode was just, we have a very personal touch here at Porter, and not all the factoring companies can say that really. There's some automated systems and things in place that kind of treat you like a number, and it's not really like that at Porter. So I
Yeah,
like that
this
you're
is
kind of
a
mentioning it
Yeah,
too.
this is a very relationship driven business. So we, Ian, you well know we get leads from our marketing department, but we also get leads from referral sources. And I know I keep preaching referral sources, but I think it's extremely important that, we develop that relationship that lasts over time. And
Hmm.
the only way you do that is by nurturing them and making sure we're providing a good product to their clients.
Absolutely. And yeah, and like we've had those relationships for years and years, and some of those referral sources that we have probably been with the company for almost as long as the company's been around, right, John?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Yeah, so that speaks volumes. Well, John, last question for you today,
Okay.
and this one's fun. It's a fun one. Because it'll be funny if another rep ends up joining the team here. They might even listen to your advice that you give here. But what's one piece of advice that you'd give to a new sales rep joining the Porter team?
Well, that's a good question. Is this new sales rep? Is he coming from the industry, or is he just starting out? Or give me some help here.
Mm, let's say they're coming from the industry. Let's say they have some experience.
They have some experience.
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice? I mean, I kind of go back to the referral stuff a little bit, but maybe to switch it up some. Let's say let's don't be late for meetings.
Yeah.
Always be on time for a internal call, or always make sure you're on time for like a client meeting. I think first impressions are critical. And if you show up late, I think that speaks volume about yourself.
All right. Well, you heard it from the man himself, John. John, thanks so much for being on the show today. I hope everyone that was listening enjoyed it and got to meet, learn and meet you a little bit more. And then, if you're someone that's looking to do business with Porter Capital, you'll probably end up talking to John. So
Yeah, maybe so.
hopefully you like him from this conversation.
Thanks for having me, and I enjoyed it.
It was a pleasure, John.
All right,
All
man.
right. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you made it this far and you found this informative and potentially entertaining, then please do us a favor by subscribing to our show on your favorite streaming service. And if you're interested in being on the show in the future, please email me at ibinek@portercap.net. I'd love to organize an episode where we can talk shop. Until then, I hope to see you in our next episode. Cheers.